listener production.
Hi, Natarsha Belling with you and welcome to the afternoon edition of The Briefing. Coming up in our deep dive, why did Erin Patterson murder 3 members and attempt to kill another? And did she think she would get away with it? We unpack the latest developments in the deadly mushroom story with criminal psychologist Tim Watson-Munro. But first, let's check the afternoon headlines this Tuesday, the 8th of July. A shock announcement this afternoon by the RBA on the cash rate. The RBA has decided to keep rates on hold, despite widespread speculation from many financial experts they would cut rates. It was a split decision, 6 votes to 3. Here is RBA Governor Michelle Bullock.
By our next meeting in 5 weeks, we will have the June quarter CPI, another labour market reading, further information about international developments and an updated set of forecasts. So the board decided to wait a few weeks to confirm that we're still on track to meet our inflation and employment objectives.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has nominated US President Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. The PM travelled to Washington to meet with President Trump, who is continuing to negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Mr Netanyahu making a short speech while handing over an official letter to the American leader during their White House meeting.
He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Meantime, pressure is increasing on our Prime Minister Anthony Albanese to finalise a face-to-face meeting with President Trump, with the 90-day pause on tariffs set to expire in weeks after another extension. The Prime Minister adamant, though, Australia is getting a better deal in the tariff standoff compared to other countries.
Australia has a tariff rate of 10%, at least as low as any country in the world. No country has a better deal than Australia. Now, we'll continue to put our case. Tariffs are an act of economic self-harm.
And Scarlett Johansson has made history, becoming the highest grossing actor in Hollywood. Her combined fortune of around $14.6 billion is thanks to the incredible success of the new Jurassic World blockbuster movie, now in cinemas, which Scarlett stars in, and also her character Black Widow in the successful Avengers series. Now it's time to get into our deep dive on the latest developments in the mushroom murder case with criminal psychologist Tim Watson-Munro. The only survivor from the deadly beef Wellington meal has finally broken his silence after Erin Patterson yesterday was found guilty on 3 counts of murder and 1 of attempted murder. It comes as many ask, will we ever know why Erin killed her family members? Tim, thank you so much for joining us. As we know, this case and subsequently the guilty verdict with Erin Patterson has captured the attention of millions of people, not just in Australia, but right around the world. What do you think is behind the interest in this case?
Well, I think there's a growing interest in true crime. Some would suggest that the market, if that's the right term, is growing by about 20% per annum. The reasons behind that, of course, are social media, true crime shows on Netflix and Stan and so on. But I think there are particular ingredients to this case that have acted as hooks to the general public in Australia and indeed overseas. You have a triple murder in a country town, an attempted murder in a country town. You have a person who's now being found guilty of those crimes without any prior forensic history, seemingly living a comfortable life in the country. She's killed family members. Her children have been deprived of grandparents. She's been deprived of her in-laws and so on. But I think the more interesting aspect of this is that it's about poisoning. And some research suggests that women are more inclined to poison. It's kind of less personal in a way, and you may get away with it more effectively by using poison. Certainly that would be an argument, I think, that was levelled at her by the prosecution. So you've got poisoning, women, people within the family. small country town. And I've said it without being flippant about it. It has shades of Shakespeare, this. I think, the poisoning, the Macbeth, the sort of spiritual connotations of all this. And of course, the person who survived was a pastor and other family members were devoutly religious. So I think all of those ingredients have captivated the audience.
So, Tim, for you, we know there had been a question for a long time throughout this trial. Did she do it or did she not do it? And I'm, of course, referring to Erin. Many people are now asking why. Why would Erin kill her family members? And we know she successfully, or 3 people died and 1 person almost died. What do you think the motivations are behind this?
Well, I've not examined her, so I can't really say with any authority what might have driven her. I think the only person that really knows is her. And at the moment, she's maintaining her innocence. I think, it's a matter for a legal team, but I'd be surprised if there wasn't an appeal. And certainly until that process has been exhausted, I would anticipate that she would maintain her innocence. And so no explanations will be given. One of the things I wondered about was whether there'd been a psychiatric or psychological evaluation at the time that she was charged and placed on remand. As we all know now, she's been on remand for a long period of time, or whether it's planned to do an evaluation of her ahead of the sentence hearing. We don't know about that. What I can say is this: she's a person who's not insane in a medico-legal sense. Now, a lot of people may think, well, this is crazy behaviour, why would you do it? But the test for insanity in the courts is very strict. You have to be unaware of your wrongdoing and unaware of the consequences of your behaviour. Now, clearly there's mens rea in this case. She had intent, and that's demonstrated in the finding of the jury. 3 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder. I don't think there's any argument about intent as far as the jury is concerned and as far as the learned judge is concerned. So it seems to me there was a lot of internecine conflict within family members surrounding the breakdown of her marriage and so on. It may be that one of the factors that affected her decision-making was anger. And look, I've done a lot of murder cases over the years. This one I've not been involved in. It's a highly unusual case, but what I've noticed is that once people make the decision, once they cross the Rubicon and they decide they're going to kill someone, it gathers its own momentum. And I suspect that that could have been something that was in play with this case.
Tim, the sole survivor of that lunch, Ian Wilkinson, has actually released a statement today. It was posted, a note on the notice board outside the local Baptist church, and I'm quoting it here. It said, "Life can be hard, but God is faithful." What are your thoughts on Ian's statement and also what he has experienced over this trial?
I've got great respect for this man. I feel for him and the broader family. They've been through a huge ordeal, not only the loss of loved ones in really foul circumstances, but then, of course, a protracted trial. And certainly in terms of pub scuttlebutt, if I could put it that way, there was a period during the course of this trial where people I spoke to, lawyers, learned people and people just in the street, who were beginning to think that maybe Colin Mandy, senior counsel, had actually turned the tide in terms of introducing the element of reasonable doubt. And, of course, if there's any doubt at all, you're entitled to an acquittal. So this family's had to endure all of that, a 10 or 11-week trial. The jury then considers its decision over 6 or 7 days, and then finally there's a decision. So I would imagine in general terms there would be a bit of a decompression now, a relief that there's been a finding of guilt in relation to these crimes. But it's not the end of the story. There's going to be pre-sentence discussions. There will be a sentencing hearing. And then who knows, but in all likelihood, I think there'll be an appeal if there are grounds to appeal. So I admire his faith and his strength and courage.
Tim, in regards to this actual mushroom meal, and you've worked on a lot of murder cases previously, none of us will ever know, as you mentioned earlier, exactly why Erin did it. She is probably the only person that knows exactly what happened. But it seems to be very personal that this was meticulously planned. It seems to be fueled, as you mentioned, from some type of anger or, breakdown in relationships. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
Well, there was a case of Catherine Knight who killed her husband, and I wasn't involved in that case, but she dismembered him and then served him up as a meal to his children. I think the police intervened before they took the first bite. Similar dynamic, clearly a lot of rage. There was no insanity defence available to her, as I understand it. But this is a very unusual case. And certainly in, 45, 46 years of practice now, I've not encountered anything quite like this. I was involved in the assessment of Julian Knight. He was a mass murderer. And Erin Patterson now will be known as a mass murderer because the threshold for that is 3 or more people murdered at one time. So it's an extraordinary case, and I think we're going to be in the dark for a while, maybe permanently, as to why she committed these crimes.
In regards to her family, we know there are 2 children involved here who have to now live with possibly their mother living life behind bars if she's sentenced accordingly. There is speculation that Simon, her ex-husband, may do a media interview. Do you think that will shed any more light on exactly what's happened in this case? Because there still are so many questions.
Well, I guess it depends what Simon has to say and the purpose of the interview. But he, of all people, would know his former wife better than most, and he may be able to give some insight to the dynamics that were percolating long before these crimes were committed. It's a courageous thing to do, but if he's going to do it, good on him.
So, Tim, in regards to the question now, I believe they've got 28 days, Erin's team, to launch an appeal. Do you think they will appeal this?
I think, with respect, it's a matter for her legal team. They would assess the evidence. They would assess the verdict. If I was a betting man, I would say, in all likelihood, there would be an appeal, and the basis for that is she's got nothing to lose. She may get a retrial. She may get a better result. If there's no appeal, she's left with 3 counts of murder, guilty, 1 count of attempted murder, guilty, and I wouldn't want to preempt what His Honour's going to do on sentencing. Obviously, there's submissions which have to be made, etc., but what have you got to lose? In the absence of that, you're looking, as a matter of logic, at decades in jail, I would have thought.
If Erin maintains her innocence, do you think we will ever know why she did this?
If she maintains her innocence, I don't think we will know, unless there's some secret evidence or there's some evidence that hasn't been produced. I mean, I think about Ivan Milat, for example, and I did a documentary series with Xanth Mallet about 5 years ago called Buried Secrets, and he went to the grave not admitting to anything, not giving up the bodies. And when people get into this mindset, they can become very stubborn. What they're thinking about is their legacy. They don't want to be remembered, even if there's a verdict of guilty of 3 counts of murder and so on. They want to maintain their innocence for the sake of others around them, presumably also maybe her children, I don't know. But if she doesn't discuss it, we'll never really know the truth.
We really appreciate your insight and your thoughts today. Thanks so much for joining us, Tim.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
That was criminal psychologist Tim Watson-Munro. And that's it for this episode of the afternoon edition of The Briefing. We'd love you to subscribe or follow us on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. I'm Natarsha Belling. Thanks for your company.